Hello and welcome all to another episode of Urinchian Wisdom. Today we'll be discussing the dark side of nepotism. Nepotism, or in other words, tribalism, I would suggest is the biggest disease in our world according to Urinchian philosophy. Well, it's practically the reason behind why everything sucks in the world. It's also the most deceptively innocent operating system because it takes guts to judge someone for favoring their own kind, their progeny, or matching pigment, any type of other in group fellow member based on mutual self interests, such as, say, camaraderie in the army during a war between two men of different races who protect each other based on adhering to the same crapology. Whereas in the time of peace, they would probably never even say hi to each other. Make no mistake, this is the most archaic, spiritually unevolved aspect of the human condition, I believe. Those who practice the most hardcore versions of this do seem demonically possessed, don't they? If you just stare into their eyes, you see this vast, vast void. Take the Middle East, for instance, which I call the cancerous intestines of the world. Uh, there's a whole country there, thanks to the endless credit given for holding a very solid victim card, founded on nonetheless racist, exclusivist, and nepotist, and I'm chosenist ideology, not to mention the insane hypocrisy behind suddenly taking God's promise as a righteous claim to a piece of land while simultaneously broadcasting a secular liberal tropology to the world. So, have you ever heard of a ethnic minority called Slavic Macedonian? I bet your answer is no. And that's because that language and that culture was annihilated by force. Yeah. Who occupies North America today? Not the original settlers, obviously. How come their victim card doesn't accomplish much of anything? Perhaps because they don't or didn't utilize the evil superpower of nepotism in order to self preserve and elevate themselves at the cost of others' property rights? Maybe? Just a thought? Sure, yeah, sure, the massive trauma of collective pain behind this toxic defensive mechanism of self preservation is not to be taken lightly. But how is eye for an eye, specifically not taking the eye of the original aggressor, but another innocent eye, is justifiable? A very well organized and committed practice of nepotism can always overpower otherwise personally powerful individuals who are doomed to lose for being disadvantaged and outnumbered at positions of power. Think of a gang of small critters taking down a lion due to their collective determination and dedication to cooperation, to winning at the expense of others. It is no wonder why nepotists are passionately hated all around the world. Have you seen how apes react to the apes who gang up on them and steal their bananas? They go bananas. Yeah, that is exactly how the few hyper-nepotist families operate over the world economy. And that's not a conspiracy. Come on. It isn't who they are or what they represent. It's their sick nepotist behavior that everyone hates. It is the refusal to use that power to elevate others who aren't one of them. But of course, gaslighting those who call out their sickness as haters or hating something that hurts you is a predictable symptom of this narcissistic dynamic. So no wonder there. Being othered, emotionally and physically neglected and abused and taken advantage of because you don't matter. And that's because you're not one of us, is the greatest shadow of the human ego. Yes, not being capable of taking something else as a part of yourself or not being of your bloodline is the sure sign of a spiritually underdeveloped soul. Often, while these folks be favoring their own, it isn't even out of love, to be honest, but an ego driven desire to elevate themselves, yet again, vicariously through their membership they identify with or see as an extension of their own ego. Have you seen what some mothers and fathers allow to get away with when the aggressor to another child is their own progeny? I wonder why we even allow people to have children if they can't love and adopt another person's child. Doesn't the adopting parent carry a much bigger heart and doesn't require a whole influx of bonding hormones that are released at childbirth naturally, or having genetic stakes or interest to tend to a helpless child and therefore better qualify as a parent. Don't they actually have what it takes? A lot more than ones who biologically get them? I think you get my answer. So I go out every evening to feed the street dogs in my hometown, and I see practically no one, including people with breed dogs on leashes, just do not even acknowledge their presence, let alone do anything to relieve their hunger or pain. They continue to just walk past me and these poor doggies, flaunting their dog chosen specifically because of their size or genetic properties, where the dog is a mere tool, making up an image what they lack in charisma and personality as a human. Just the vanity behind wanting to preserve certain genetic properties, which in reality are malfunctions and pathologies, to be honest, such as short snouts, lowered hip bones, like in German Shepherds, or excessively enlarged skulls, like in English bulldogs. It's one of the most obvious byproducts of crapology demonstrated in physical traits. Humans literally do not care to retard and make suffer other humans or dogs through inbreeding if it means they will get what they want and self-preserve only for a very small controlled group of their own choosing, defy and manipulate Mother Nature at the same time, who normally acts in the exact opposite direction. Because Mother Nature is generous and inclusive, it is designed to make species prosper based on complementary unions. Indeed, as I too have observed, with unspayed and unneutered street dogs, outside of human interventions, they never look for the same breed to mate with, and they breed the healthiest pups, or mutts, and they instinctively smell an opposite, therefore healthy gene pool that will guarantee a more resilient offspring. So this is natural and instinctual on a biological level, which actually, I guess, to me also seems to explain why typically Mediterranean men are not attracted to me and I'm not attracted to them, except for Constantinos Angelos, obviously. I have to deal with these white North European blonde nerd types, while the Mediterranean types that look like me just feel like my brothers and cousins. Perhaps no better example illustrates how sick this whole thing looks than the one Craigslist posting that I will never forget from the early 2000s, but back when I used to live in San Francisco. This posting was up for maybe a whole year or more, I don't even know, but I kept coming across it. This Jewish family with the righteous and God-given right to create the most perfect, flawless family had written up this long list of requirements that included everything from SAT scores to height and hair type of a lady who had to present 100% Jewish genetic heritage with birth certificates and other documentation uh, for an egg of hers that she would be selling to the superhuman family for $20,000. Yep, no comments. So I wonder, are you talented, yet unseen, and poor even? Sure, do take some personal responsibility for not making it, but a big part of the reason you're not there is because you weren't born into the privileges of an actively nepotist family and community. Let's be real. Are you homeless and sick? It's because you have no one to support you and hold you when you fall. Plenty useless, weak, and talentless children of the rich who have hardly worked a day in their lives are provided everything from a car to funds to attend Ivy League schools and business opportunities and everything. In all the three countries that I've ever lived in 42 years, I have seen some of the most basic, mediocre, and low caliber practitioners of any field, especially the arts, by the way, get elevated to the top positions and fame and earnings, and they thrive thanks to entirely to their clan or their tribe support. Tribes who don't give a fudge about fair play meritocracy, good ethics, integrity. Well, they carry hearts the size of a pocket Bible and worship only themselves and their kin. So, in conclusion, nepotism from the Arintian perspective can be viewed as an organ failure, a heart deficiency, and a case of demonic possession, indeed. And ultimately, my answer, which I plan to tackle on another episode, is the idea of antinatalism, which I hope you've heard of it. And if not, do follow me and you will soon come across it. As well as a revolutionary shift towards licensed parenting. And thanks for listening. I know this was more of a dry and opinionated piece, but I felt like these ideas were worthy of being put out there. So thank you for your support and have a great day. Bye.